Hi, welcome. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. Guys, we've probably got around 2 months or so left before we cross that 40-degree mark. That's not a long time. Join me in a couple of days' time, around about the 31st or the end of this month, so that we can pull out the SD cards for you guys again and just pinpoint the position of the magnetic North Pole. Just a few other things I wanted to talk about in this video, but before we do, I want to say a huge thanks to just a few people. Can you believe it? In this day and age, with this crisis unfolding, this rare anomaly, the last time 780,000 years completed magnetic reversal. 12,000 years ago, we had a magnetic excursion where it done a reversal but didn't complete it permanently and revert it back to where the poles were originally. But nevertheless, these are big numbers. 12,000 years ago is a big number, and certainly 780,000 years is an even bigger number. You guys, if you've been following me, know why I'm concerned about the fact that on average the magnetic poles around 780,000 years ago used to go for a reversal much more frequently than what they did or do now. Every 300 to 350,000 years they used to go for a reversal, but now we are 500,000 years overdue, and this anomaly is back at our front doors today. Mainstream media should be screaming from the top of their voices about this, but we're not hearing it. And just bear with me a little bit later on in this video. We're going to talk about a few things and just put some facts down there for you guys, and I'm interested in your opinions, of course, on this. But I have to say, going back to thanking those few people, we have 4,000 people who come, watch the information and never bother to chip in a few bucks. I just ask, what's wrong with you guys? If you're telling me that all of you, the majority of you, are potless right now, then I really find that hard to believe. Out of 4,000 people, we can't get more than the amount of fingers I've got on one hand to chip in a few bucks for this. I'll just say this: there isn't another observatory out there freely giving away the information to the general public, and I'll say it is not mandatory for you to support, but without support, what do you think happens next? We need support. This is critical time that we're all in right now, and faced with all the other things, and some of those things we're going to talk about, or particularly one aspect which is going to very shortly catch up with everybody. Mark my words on that. It is definitely going to catch up with everybody. So, we need to start at some point seriously thinking about these things and doing something. And, you have to be proactive. I'm sorry. You wouldn't, I'm sure, allow a drunk driver to take your kids to school for you, knowing that the risks of an accident are increased because of his intoxicity of alcohol. You wouldn't do it. Yet, these things that we talk about here on this channel are equally as dangerous for you and your family members. And yet, nobody does anything about that. And I find that very strange. I wonder what it is that has caused humans to be so complacent at this point in time. I wonder why only 98% of the world's population even know that the Earth is going through a magnetic reversal, and how much of a big deal that is. When the Earth goes through a magnetic reversal, the magnetosphere weakens, and that allows in radiation. Causes cancer. We're already seeing those cancer rates go up. It also causes cardiac arrhythmias. We're also seeing, the cases for cardiorhythmias, failure, increasing. And it's not targeting just a specific age group. It's targeting all ages. So this is unique. We need to do something, more than what we're doing right now. As you can see, we've been tracking this now for nearly 5 years with the equipment that was bespoke built to do that. We don't bar anybody from the information, despite the hardships that we have to face, every month with YouTube, blocking the videos, banning us for a small amount of time, and, refusing without any good reason to allow us to be monetized so that we can generate some revenue in other areas, But, I do understand that, it's not just me that gets targeted. There are, if you do research, lots of scientists that if they do not follow the hymn sheet and sing the song that has been, written for them to sing, they are faced with persecution from colleagues. They are ridiculed. They are threatened with their job, with their pension, and even in some worse case scenarios. And I'm sure if we started digging down deep enough, we would see that they'd gone to even extreme levels of making certain scientists disappear. That could possibly be influential on the general public. This is the case as well as I do. So, it would be just a change to see a few more people, step up to the mark. I've got this video, and I'm hoping that the video will run a little bit quicker than what the audio that they will at some point, go quicker. But you can see why we're following the 40-degree mark. You can see what happens in this little experiment when the pin gets to 40 degrees. It leaves the strong field lines, which is what's causing it to migrate slowly over towards the 40 degree, and then past that 40 degree point we get a rapid shift. We've put the theory down. We don't know if that will be the case. It's a theory. Let's test it. Let's see, because now we are a couple of months away. We would have been already here had it not been for the recent activity with the magnetic poles, where it stopped, went back, then stopped, and then went forward, and then went forward slightly quicker. Well, we are moving just slightly quicker than what it has ever migrated before. And like I say, we will do a pinpoint position of the magnetic North Pole in just a few days. You're welcome to come along and see how this is progressing. And all I can say is that we do have less than 2 months before we reach that theoretical 40-degree mark. And that was based on this experiment, as you can see here. So I want to talk to you just briefly about something else, because this is something else that pops up in the comments section, and until right now I've never addressed it, but I will do for you guys right now. So let's get on with that. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about. Here's a car manufacturing plant in the 1990s. You can see there are plenty of human beings there working away, assembling these cars. Have a look at this next photo. And this is a car manufacturing plant in the 2023, I think it is, this year's. And I just asked the question, where are the human beings? And you can understand why manufacturers do this, because a robot will work pretty much endlessly without, needing to take a break for lunch, a break for dinner. It will work throughout the night, so it will work 24 hours. It may require a little bit of maintenance each week here and there, but the reason why manufacturers do it is because they only have to pay for maintenance after the initial purchase of the robot, and it will continue to build the cars, and they can be taught to build new models as and when needed. But the point is it helps the share prices if you're a stock owner of these automotive companies, because when you do away with the labour force, that's a big chunk of your profits going on labour. But car manufacturers these days don't care, and the governments do not govern anymore, because if they did, they would say something about this, because they know that inevitably what is going to happen is something is going to catch up with them. And we are there right now. I really am sorry for the fact that you've decided to have children recently, because, well, they're going to be chasing jobs left, right and centre, regardless of the qualifications. It's very hard to have a career where it can't be replaced by some form of robotics, actuation or artificial intelligence. Now, just look what's happened recently in the last few weeks with the company British Telecom. This is being talked about all around the world. British Telecom have announced they're going to axe 50,000 out of the 80,000 jobs they have and replace it with artificial intelligence. And I always talk about these three things. You can write them down, come to your own conclusions on them. The first one is technological advancement. The second one is need to exchange labour for money in order to participate in the monetary system. And the third one is population expansion, or global population expansion. All these things amount to one thing for you guys, and I hope you write them down. I hope you do think about them a bit, because that's your crystal ball. The two photos are just 33 years apart from each other, and you've seen the removal almost entirely out of car manufacturing plants now of human work labour force. This is happening not just in the automotive industries around the world, it is happening in every sector. Things are changing so fast that, before we know it, there will be no jobs. As well as I know, when you go into shops nowadays or supermarkets, there is more self-pay tills than there are cashiers. And if you use one of them self-pay tills, you're putting a cashier out of a job. And eventually, there will be no cashiers. There'll just be a security guard overseeing the fact whether you've paid or not. And then the next step is to do away with supermarkets entirely, because what's now coming on the scene, and people are using more and more because it makes a little bit of sense. Not everyone can spend an hour and a half walking around a supermarket putting stuff in the trolley, so they pre-order it and have it delivered. So what's happening is the industry, the food industry and the shops industry, or the retail sector, is already gearing up to go online, which means that you won't even have the luxury of going to the supermarket to see the wide selection and varieties that there are, because you will be given a list soon of what you can have, and if you do not choose it, you'll have to go without. If it's not on the list, you can't have it. This is an ugly world we're building for ourselves, and as each day goes by, we move closer to a hell on earth and further away from a heaven on earth. If you increase the technological advancement, then you decrease the jobs. That means people can't obtain money because they can't exchange their labour for money, because there's no jobs for them to, first of all, obtain so that they can exchange that labour for the money. And the third one is population increase. We've went from 7 billion to 8 billion. And this number is still going to continue to increase, despite the fact that more people are coming into this world without the means to obtain cash to participate in the system. We have a few pigs at the trough that won't recognise that the capital system has stagnated because of the technological advancement. I hope you follow me on this. I want your comments in the comments section. Now, this is not the elephant in the room, what people have been talking about in the comments section. I'm going to talk about that right now. I see frequently the mention of what the problem is migrants, illegal migrants coming in. But I'm telling you now, these are being allowed in. If they really wanted to stop migrants coming into the country, they would do it. They don't want to. And let's face it, these are not migrant refugees. These are migrant workers. They're coming into these countries to work from poorer countries where they can't obtain, an exchange from labour in their country to obtain that money to participate in that monetary system in that country. It's already collapsed. You look at countries like Brazil, it would be better for you to wipe your backside on the pound notes, because you'd have more paper than what you would if you exchanged the notes, the bank notes, for a toilet roll. I kid you not, it's got that bad. And this is what's coming to us all around the world, unless we start getting up off our lazy arses and doing something about it. And if you are not motivated enough to help somebody else, help yourselves, then help somebody who is. Support somebody who is. There's a link down there. We talk about this frequently. We want to change it, because at the moment, what is taking place is nothing short of criminality from the leaderships of all these countries. I'm not going to pick flies on any single country, because they're all as bad as each other right now. And people that have been working their asses off to, buy a home or rent that home and keep a roof over their heads and their families' heads and keep them safe, put some food on the table, are starting to realise, or have already realised, that they can't afford to do it with the incomes that they've got. And in some cases they're working, both the mother and the father in the relationship, in the household, are working 2 jobs each, and they still can't make it work. Don't tell me that this system that we're all in and participating in is functional right now, because we are right about to see an acceleration of job losses due to a big outroll soon in artificial intelligence. If people can't access a job and exchange that labour for money enough to, and let's face it, this is what the problem is. This is why refugees are being allowed into the countries, because these people that are running the countries don't give an F. They don't. They just want those jobs filled, because it enables them not to have a physically broken down or malfunctioning society that sustains their quality of life, not your quality of life. That's why they will allow them in there to do the low paid jobs. And the reason why, we won't take the low paid jobs is, guess why? Because the low paid jobs will not support the bills that are needed to at the end of the month. This has just been made 10 times worse by the fact that energy costs have been allowed to go up. And again, the failure of these governments to act on the, power grid companies that produce the electricity and stop them being greedy. The shareholders are taking the money home. The companies are doubling the profits, and we are getting less. It will get much worse. If you're hoping at the moment when you're at university to get a job and you think it might be a job for life, then I'm going to break the bad news to you right now. There's no such thing anymore. Those were words that was talked about and used, 30, 40 years ago. In this day and age, those words mean nothing, fall through the palm of your hand like water. If we allow this to continue, we will merge into a hell on earth. I promise you guys. A hell on earth is on the horizon and not too far away. It requires motivation. You actively got to participate in making the changes, otherwise it won't change. If the alcoholic or the drug addict is allowed to access these substances, then he will. And that's what we're dealing with here. We are dealing with addictive personalities that are running the countries, and they're going unchecked. No one's putting in the checks and balances on them, and therefore there is nothing to stop them continuing doing what they're doing. These are supposed to be governments that govern, and they don't govern anything other than their own personal wealth. You can't have less than 1% of this world, or this world's population, thriving on the back of everybody else. I know it has been this way for quite some time, but we are in a time and a day and age where it is becoming more aware to the majority of people. So we need to do something about it. Simple as that. And if you can't support yourself in a bit of motivation, then support somebody who is capable of doing it, or talking about it, or making the awareness about it. There's a link down there. You can help us for that reason. We'll make sure we push the agendas that need to be spoken about. We will continue as an observatory to monitor the magnetic North Pole and the other anomalies that we cover on poleshiftnews.com for you guys. And so long as we get, a few people, and it needs to increase, because 4 people out of the 4,000 people is not even 1%. I'm sure you'll agree. It needs to be massively improved. What I think that is more like is 0.4%. That needs to change, because that is just absolutely shameful. It is. And I know that we can all do better. There's a link down there, guys, if you want to help us. We will be back on the 30th or the 31st this month with our latest magnetic pole shift position for you. And of course, we will continue to do the Earth Alpha at a glance, where we look at all the other anomalies. It would be super if a few more people would just, see sense, and support. It's as simple as that. Guys, have an amazing evening. Links down there if you want to support. Any other thing to say is, as always, bye for now.